フリーレン、確かに僕たちはその首飾りのことは知らない。でも、僕たちは君がすごい魔法使いであることを知っている。それでいいじゃないか。
でもすぐ死んじゃうじゃん。
If you know me at all, or are generally familiar with the timbre of my deeply strange interests, you may be surprised to learn that I've never really been too captivated by the fantasy genre, with the sole odd exception of The Lord of the Rings, that is. By now, the YouTube algo knows if it recommends me a 20-minute video detailing the history of the witch realm of Angmar, I'm watching that shit in its entirety. But otherwise, for some reason, I can take or leave magical worlds. You know, stuff like Magic the Gathering, Dragon Age, Dragon Warrior, Dungeons and Dragons. Basically anything with dragon in the title is unlikely to incandesce my imagination the way it does for some people. Well, except for Like a Dragon, but that's less fantasy than Japanese magical realism. And ironically, it employs far more imagination than the genre whose name is literally a synonym for that.
Listen to those lyrics, man. It's all about love and longing. Yes, and hobbits too.
I mean, from the outside perspective, one can't help but notice a pretty regimented style with this genre, right? Always that earth tone color scheme, a vaguely medieval setting, all castles and shit. Man, I don't even like chess. The only big innovation in the last decade or so is bear f***ing simulation. And that's more a triumph of DDR5 than J.R.R. Tolkien. That's stupid. And yet, Frieren, Beyond a Journey's End, has managed to become not just one of the few fantasy stories to penetrate the hydrophobic membrane of my disinterest, but to become one of my favorite anime series of the last decade. Which, to my mounting horror, I realize puts it in the company only of shows to have come out since, like, Attack on Titan Season 2 and One Punch Man? One Punch Man, Attack on Titan, and Nintendo Switch are officially retro, everybody. Get aged on, sucker. Fittingly enough, though, times want to surge beneath our feet like the retreating waves of the angry sea is Frieren's most major theme, and a big part of what makes it so captivating. Rather than just being a katamari of tropes, as the sequelitis guy put it, Frieren is smart enough to use the fantasy backdrop to tell a genuinely relatable story about impermanence, loss, service to a higher cause, emotional maturation, and finding value in things that don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, beyond simple survival, what motive does anyone have to learn to do a thing and then keep doing it? Is passion just a fortuitous brain disorder? What do you do after you've achieved all your goals? What even is the value of a goal? Like, yeah, I don't even have a problem with elves and unrealistic magic, as long as it facilitates something akin to an existential crisis. It didn't have to be magic. Yeah, man, yeah, that quote is as brilliant as it is pregnant with meaning. It is straight up heavy with child. Hi, I'm Okus. Sorry I haven't made any content this year. Yeah, I love Frieren. Man, I love Frieren. It even works in some cautionary messaging about the desire for control and how power is a temptation to be disciplined rather than a noble goal in itself. See, this is total Tolkien-esque moral, screw tape letters, Clockman. This is real deal fantasy. So Frieren is 1,000 years old, and it's left her jaded. On the one hand, she possesses the enviable ability to simply trundle along vibing for indefinite stretches of time. But on the other hand, as a 1,000-year-old immortal being, vibing's about all she's got. It's, hard for her to keep caring about stuff. For her, decades pass like it's nothing. But I mean, if you ever managed to waste an entire day just playing SimCity, that's not too hard to imagine. To feel like you have unlimited time and yet nowhere near enough to do the things you want is basically the psychological posture of anyone who's juggled a creative endeavor with a service industry job. Add to that her stoic taciturnity and total aversion to procreation, and you have the most relatable character in fiction since Professor Psychotic.
You do stupid shit all the time.
You know, this is what I care about.
Care about something better!
And she's magic. Take that, Harry Partridge, Squid Game. The point is, Frieren might be awash with fantasy tropes straight out of 80s JRPGs, like right down to the 4 Heroes of Light party composition. There they are. Frieren, Hyder, Eisenhimmel, Black Wizard, White Mage, Master, Knight. Perfect team combo. But it is a smart story. Their whole adventure and the lifetime of glory that ensues is just the setup to the real quest, which is the friends we made along the way, which is only kind of a joke. Frieren has to overcome a pervasive presumption of futility and put literally any effort into maintaining interpersonal relationships. An endeavor portrayed as more daunting than killing the Lord of all demons. This is the most relatable conflict ever depicted in fiction.
時間の無駄だからね。いろいろ教えてもすぐ死んじゃうでしょ。
フリーレン、人との関係はそういうものじゃない。
It's not every day you get an inciting incident in the form of a disconsolate emotional awakening. In the years following the defeat of the Demon King, and as her mortal teammates start approaching the ends of their lives, Frieren starts to prioritize understanding humans during their comparatively brief lifespans. It especially hits her what she's missed when Himmel dies. It's decades after their quest is over when she even thinks to look him up, and that was simply because she made an appointment to see the quinquagenary meteor shower that they only had a mediocre view of last time. The past half-century might have just been an afternoon of desultory errandry from her perspective, but Himmel and the others essentially dedicated the majority of their lives to their friendship until Himmel becomes the first to succumb to senescence. This isn't series spoilers, by the way. It's all literally in the first episode. It's a masterclass of pacing. The whole series is. It really is like a journey. Aside from the mellow pacing, it's also the asymmetrical episode structure that keeps things feeling ephemeral and yet unrushed. How the episode titles sometimes don't come up until like 20 minutes into an episode. It's a very clever way to replicate the malleability of our perception of time. Well, anyway, Frieren breaks down after realizing she basically missed her friend's entire life. Fortunately, her remaining teammates are quick to clock this change in her perspective and see about providing her opportunities to mentor their own wayward wards. What ensues is a delightfully mellow trundle through some markedly slow burn and non-cathartic character growth. And so, despite the absurdity, Frieren takes on her quondam comrades' apprentices and endeavors to dedicate time to birthdays and sunrises, in addition to altering the course of human history and slaying demons and whatnot. And they in turn teach her stuff. It's not an overnight transformation, though. She still has to keep in mind how fast a few decades can get away from her and how this cannot be abided by her new finite friends. It really is brilliant the way this dawns on her. There's just a couple random mourners at Himmel's funeral who comment on her lack of vociferosity. They probably weren't even born when the original quest happened, and this stray comment section malarkey has a rippling impact that will last for centuries to come. Kinda thematic. Ichigo Ichie is the saying, and I don't mean strawberry parfait. I mean, Frieren always got along just fine when she was emotionally detached, but now she has to figure out what to do with her infinite lifespan while caring about things she knows she's going to lose. Damn, man. It's like playing Marvel Rivals. Or maybe like Gimli learning the dangers of light and joy for a more apropos comparison. Her immortality now poses quite a predicament, but it also means her newfound appreciation of finite experiences can give some contour to that infinite lifespan instead of simply experiencing limitless serial longevity, to borrow yet another quote from the T-Man. Tolkien, not T-Pain. This is how Frieren manages to be like a remix of all the most tired fantasy cliches, but given new life through well-considered recontextualization. Frieren and company kill all kinds of monsters, encounter plenty of weird threats, and at times even embrace the dark side of full-blown gamer toxicity. It seriously blows through plot points in 1 or 2 episodes that would more typically fill out a core-long story arc or 2, or 7, or a million. It not only doesn't feel rushed, the ephemeral nature of major encounters is thematically apropos. They figure out how to slay a dragon, save a town from Iron Mouse, motivate the most cultured man in the world to embark on an identity quest. Each and any one of these could have dragged on for a dozen episodes if this was done more serialized shonen anime style. I mean, there is that one story arc where they have to pass the Pokemon League Championships to get permission to enter a high-level danger zone that goes on for a while, I guess, but that's about as close as they come. The framing of this rapid-fire lifetime of adventures as being a fairly small and ultimately inconsequential sliver of history is the big brain hours of Frieren. It, much like Lord of the Rings before it, simply employs the concepts of power and dominion to tell a story fundamentally about death and the desire for deathlessness. We really have time to contemplate the worthiness of Frieren's cause. Kawaii as she is, she really is setting herself up to be tutoring a never-ending series of adepts till the end of time. I have no idea how it will go, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past this show to have us witness Fern and Star grow old and die and then still go on for a long time. I don't know, but brace yourselves is all I'm saying. See, I mean, it's hard to pin down whether and how much this story works by embracing the conventions of fantasy or by subverting them. It's like if a clown robbed a bank. Is it more terrifying because of the gun or less terrifying because of the rest of the clown? Point is, I don't actively dislike fantasy or anything. My typical experience with it is just that it's sort of there. You know, and I realize I might be the only person on Earth for whom this is true, but I mean, even Game of Thrones had a hard time keeping me invested, despite its storied use of gratuitous nudity. So how did the Magic Elf cartoon of all things win me, a smooth-brained Stellar Blade player, over so decisively? Especially if it wasn't simply a matter of pandering to the exact right fetishes.
Stepbrother, help!
You what?
I don't know, man. It's just more than the sum of its parts. And these are some quality-ass parts. You got a roster of characters with immaculately established motives, you got a clear and compelling goal with a well-struck emotional tone, and lush-ass art direction with which to convey all of it. Man, and the soundtrack, bro. Do I even have to explain? We are visually and aurally spoiled these days, man. And all this, I've hardly even mentioned the demons. They're comparatively peripheral presence in the story so far, despite being billed as the primary antagonistic force. Well, secondary antagonist perhaps to the ravages of time itself. And maybe tertiary to that and the perils of gacha addiction. I mean, the whole setup is that Frieren was part of Himmel's original team that defeated the Demon King, a Morgoth-esque figure driven by nihilistic tendencies to unmake the sum totality of existence. The demonic race is a widespread threat in this world, and they're practically Lovecraftian. Most of them aren't even acting out of explicit malice, they're just psychopathically efficient at impersonating sentience to facilitate their own survival. They're kind of on the pure Titan end of the spectrum of disquieting forces, hardly even conscious, just automatic and inherently deadly by merit of their mode of existence. And I'm surprised how refreshing that feels. They're not cackling with sadistic glee, they're just dangerous. And they work perfectly as occasional foils for our character's growth, even if Frieren does just categorically outclass all of them in terms of magic abilities. Like, she's just cut their number. She's just on their asses 6 ways to Sunday, man. But generations of humans forget the threat they pose rather quickly, so she has to bide her time and feed them to her proteges to spur their development. It's a pretty interesting and unconventional relationship between protagonist and antagonist is what I'm saying. I mean, it's not about collecting the magical whatevers and defeating a never-ending cortege of creatures all day. The emotionless and utterly unrelatable demons are just another perfectly executed plot device. They're like lightsabers. It's this and the wacky mage cults and dying empires and everything going on in the world around Frieren. She's just sort of a stone displaced in history along for the ride, enjoying maximal agency and considerable power when needed, but wanting next to nothing. Oh, also heaven is just real, I guess. It's at the North Pole. I don't think I mentioned that. I haven't even mentioned the love potion scene. Or the nude spell. They don't even have backpacks in this universe. She just carries everything in a magic suitcase. She should be the single least relatable protagonist in fiction, yet her miring in a void of existential crisis makes her plight all too familiar to anyone not afflicted by magnesium toxicity. This defiance in the face of existential absurdism is exemplified by Frieren's favorite spell. It's the one that creates a field of flowers. It serves little practical purpose, being one of the few strictly ornamental ensorcelments. All in all, it's an odd choice for her. The demons can't comprehend it. Why anyone capable of such power would willingly eschew or conceal it. It's kind of a prestige economy to them. Zedie certainly doesn't understand it. She appreciates magic solely for its pragmatic utility in fighting and survival. It's even unlike her mentor Flamme, who had a great appreciation for the artistry of magic, but taught her mainly pragmatic offensive spells to survive. But the last thing she ever taught her was the flower spell, as a way to keep some part of her passion for it alive. Frieren once actually loved magic, but now sees it as a little more than a hobby. It has its uses, she got her revenge against demons with it, but even then, how important can it ultimately be to someone who's gonna live forever? What ultimately is the point? Years later, Sedier spitefully withholds Class 1 mage status from Frieren, but confers it to her protege Fern, also allowing her to choose any spell she wants from her massive archive of grimoires. In an almost Adamsian twist, Fern chooses the one that cleans clothes, much to Serier's bewilderment. I mean, if legacy and gestures of grand significance are futile in an eternal existential void, you might as well smell nice. Frieren's great, Fern and Stark are great deuteragonists. I wish they do a whole spin-off season chronicling the exploits of the shivering penguin girl from episode 12. It's just a magnificent postmodern fable, like its mighty forebear, deftly avoiding allegory and allowing applicability to flourish. And that's why I love it, even though I don't have a fetish for whatever you call this. And we have mentioned the best girl.